The silent beacon. The day I stood before my family again felt like stepping onto a stage, the spotlight scorching my skin. It was a day I had both longed for and dreaded, a day when I would finally reveal what I had become. Yet, as I crossed the threshold of my childhood home, the echoes of their laughter still reverberated in my mind, mocking, derisive. Tidal energy? You'll drown in your foolishness, they had said, rolling their eyes as if my dreams were mere vapor. Years ago, I was a dreamer in a family of doers. My heart raced as I navigated the memories of that dreadful dinner, the night my once beloved uncle turned to me, his voice dripping with disdain. "You're an embarrassment, you know that? You're chasing a fairy tale." I had felt the weight of his words, the jagged edges of disbelief cutting deep. But what they didn't understand was that I was not chasing a fairy tale. I was chasing the future. After that night, I was propelled into the depths of despair. I had poured my soul into groundbreaking environmental research, only to be blindsided by betrayal. A trusted colleague had stolen my work, claiming credit for my innovations in tidal energy. The scientific community turned its back on me, and my family's ridicule echoed in every empty lab I wandered. But instead of sinking into hopelessness, I chose to rise. I turned my focus to tidal energy, the very field they deemed a futuristic folly. If they wouldn't see the potential in me, then I would show them the potential in the oceans. In the years that followed, I became a relentless innovator, driven by the sting of their derision. I spent countless nights in my makeshift lab, fueled by coffee and the relentless roar of the ocean. The saltwater air became my elixir, guiding me as I harnessed the power of the tides. I envisioned vast arrays of turbines capturing energy from the ceaseless rhythm of the waves. I envisioned a world where barren lands transformed into thriving ecosystems, where renewable energy illuminated the darkest corners of society. But the road was far from smooth. I faced skepticism at every turn, and many nights I found myself battling the demons of doubt that whispered, "You'll never make it." Yet with each setback, I grew stronger. I learned to adapt, to innovate, and to transform the very derision that had once stifled me into the fuel for my fire. It took years of relentless pursuit, but I finally did it. I secured funding for my project, and the tidal energy farms I built began to flourish. I watched as barren shorelines transformed into vibrant ecosystems, teeming with life. I became a beacon of hope for communities struggling with energy poverty, illuminating their homes with clean, sustainable energy. I had turned the tides, both literally and metaphorically. And now, standing at the threshold of my childhood home, I felt a surge of emotions. I had made it monumentally. As I entered, the familiar aroma of my mother's cooking washed over me. But this time, it didn't feel like home. It felt like a battleground. My family sat around the dining table, their laughter fading into an awkward silence as I stepped into the room. Their faces morphed from curiosity to disbelief. I could almost hear their thoughts. Who was this stranger who had dared to return? "Look who's back," my uncle sneered, his tone dripping with mockery. "Still chasing your ridiculous dreams, I see?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. "Actually, Uncle, I'm here to show you what those ridiculous dreams have accomplished." With that, I pulled out my tablet, showing them the stunning visuals of my tidal energy farms, the sprawling arrays of turbines dancing with the rhythm of the waves, the lush greenery sprouting around them, the glowing lights illuminating previously dark homes. As I swiped through images, the room fell silent, the weight of their past words hanging heavily in the air. I watched as their expressions shifted from disbelief to realization. My mother's eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of pride. My father, who had always been the staunchest critic of my ambitions, leaned closer, his fingers brushing against the screen. You did this? He murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Yes, I replied, my voice steady. I did this. I turned the tide, and now I'm illuminating lives with renewable energy. I'm bringing ecosystems back to life. I'm making a difference. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken words. Finally, my uncle spoke, his bravado crumbling like a sandcastle against the tide. I didn't think you could pull it off. I'm sorry. As the words hung in the air, I felt a rush of catharsis wash over me. They had once dismissed my ambitions, but now they were witnessing the fruits of my labor. I had not only proven them wrong, I had transformed my pain into purpose, my struggle into success. I forgive you all, I said, my heart swelling with an unexpected warmth. We all have our paths, and I'm grateful for the struggles. They shaped me into who I am today. In that moment, I realized that my journey was more than just about success. It was about resilience, growth, and the power of believing in oneself despite the odds. I had returned not just as a successful innovator, but as a beacon of hope, not just for my family, but for a world hungry for change. As they slowly began to understand the magnitude of my journey, I felt a warmth blossom in my chest. I had turned my family's laughter into applause, and I had turned their derision into a lesson. Together, we embarked on a new journey of understanding, one where dreams, no matter how ridiculous, have the power to illuminate the world.